Here's the good news, and maybe you've never heard this before. That's why Jesus came and spent 3.5 years walking among us, being one of us, to fill in the gap, to remove some of, not all of, to remove some of the mystery and to add some personality to who God is like, who God likes, what God cares. This is why, and that is why, the resurrection of Jesus absolutely matters. Now, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Around 50 AD, so work with me here, 50 AD, about 20 years after the resurrection of Jesus. All the eyewitnesses are still running around. 50 AD, the Apostle Paul, who again steps onto the pages of history as someone who hates Christianity, does not believe Jesus is the Messiah, and then becomes a Jesus follower. And he becomes so committed to the fact that Jesus is the Messiah and came for the entire world that he spends years of his life traveling around the Mediterranean rim, the Mediterranean basin, port city after port city after port city, telling people, telling strangers that God has done something in the world, in that generation, for the entire world. So on one of these trips, he gets dropped off at a little port city, and he's gonna walk to Athens and spend a few days in Athens waiting for a couple of his traveling companions to catch up with him. Now, one of his traveling companions is Luke. And Luke is the man that wrote the Gospel of Luke, and Luke traveled with Paul, and so Luke is the one who tells us what happened. So here's what happened. While Paul was waiting for a few days in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city of Athens, you can visit today, same city, was full of idols. In fact, literally, you can look this up. In these ancient times, the city of Athens, there were hundreds of idols, thousands of shrines, dozens of temples built to worship and to celebrate and to commemorate many, many, many gods. In fact, as soon as he gets off the ship, before he even gets up the hill to Athens, at that very port little town, there are shrines to gods we've never even heard of. And all the way up the road, there were shrine after shrine after shrine. And then he gets there, and there's the sanctuary to Athena and a sanctuary to Zeus and the temple of Poseidon. You can still see the remains of some of these, and the temple to Demeter and Apollo and Hermes and Dionysus. There's the temple to the 9 muses. The muses were the gods of music and poetry and art. So everywhere he looks, there's temples and temples and temples and shrines and altars everywhere. And he's shocked. And the reason he's shocked is because this is supposedly the intellectual capital of the world. These are supposedly the brightest and the smartest people who've come together to figure out how the world works and who makes the world work.